Welcome to Why Your Business is Invisible Online, the podcast that connects businesses online with the people they want to serve. Joining me are my two co-hosts, and here they are.
I'm Jim Filatico. When I'm not helping my clients grow their businesses online, you can find me traveling with friends and family.
Hi, I'm Kelly Biggs, and I'm the AT alien of the group. I love hanging with friends and family, and when I'm not doing that, you can find me on Peloton. I've clocked over 2,000 rides so far.
And I'm your host, John Manatas from Oakville, Ontario, Canada, with my guitar in hand, my Wi-Fi on life support, but always in tune with my clients. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and go to the last one that we want to cover today, and that is paid ads will solve all your problems. And I know you guys have a lot of experience with pay-per-click and Google and that whole process. I tend to, with paid ads, I tend to try to use it mostly if it's a service where there's a local service ads or a Google guaranteed piece attached to it, because we all know, right? The local service ads program at least guarantees a true lead before your paid ad budget gets depleted. And I think that was a great addition by Google. And by the way, I'm starting to see TV ads for local service ads now. I'd never seen those before. So Google's out there advertising this program and supporting it quite a bit. When I call their call center for this particular service of Google, I actually get people answering the call, and it's right away. For anything else Google does, good luck trying to get a live body, helping you out. So I'm guessing it's doing really well as a program. And for those that don't, I'm not going to spend a lot of time describing it, but basically the bottom line is it costs money to advertise on Google. There's a whole bunch of trades that are on the list. Some trades are not on the list. I know in Canada we don't have, for example, painters are not on the list yet. I know in the US they are. But the bottom line is you're putting in money and you're setting your budget, and the only way your budget gets depleted is if it's a true lead. You actually have a name, a phone number, you get to talk to the person. Whereas it's a little different in the original world of pay-per-click advertising with Google. So I know you guys probably have a bunch of stories on that. Will paid ads always solve all your problems, or no?
The first thing that comes to mind is a few attorneys that I've worked with that, you just have to keep paying and paying and paying. And especially when you talk about personal injury, where the cost per click is pretty high. Mm-hmm. And so it's almost like playing poker. And so each person has to pay more and more and more to get the same number of leads or to get that same opportunity. And so at some point, you've got to try to change that, because if you get on that merry-go-round, you're going to just keep paying. And they get used to the number of leads. But if the leads, I've had situations where we've had the conversation where they're not getting the same number of leads, they're still spending a lot of money. And so their hit rate is low. And so what else do you do? And that's when you start talking about SEO, because you can't just rely on paid ads. I've also had situations with paid ads where, if like home services, if they're willing to spend more money, if a company's willing to spend more money and they have a good number of reviews and they have 5-star reviews and that kind of thing, and they're willing to spend more money, Google is going to favor them and does favor them over companies that don't spend as much on their budget. And so as much as you want to rely on that as a lead generation source, all it takes is for your competitor to spend a little bit more, and you can't rely on that. And so that's a tough thing to deal with, and it's hard to explain. I've had tough conversations just saying, you're spending X number of thousands of dollars, your competitors are spending more, and so they're getting more impressions. They're being shown more than you are, and there's not much we can do about that. You can try to outshine them with reviews, but if it's a pay-to-play kind of program, and if you don't do it, you're not going to, you're just not going to be shown as much.
Yeah.
I've talked about the situation before with local service ads, like you're talking about, John. I had a carpet cleaner that wanted to get involved with local service ads. We got him all set up, and he wasn't showing up because his budget was lower and he didn't have enough reviews. And so we added the reviews. He went out to his clients and got more reviews, and that helped. And we increased his budget a bit. And as soon as he did that, you could start to see more more leads coming in. Mm-hmm. And that it's one of those things when you start to see that, then you can kind of prove your point, saying now you've got the reviews, your budget's a little higher, you're going to be shown more often, you're going to have more opportunity to get those leads. You still need to sell the person. No matter what happens with these leads, you still, the marketing hands it off to sales, and that's where we hand it off to the company, and they say, okay, now you got to answer the phone, you got to, whatever you have to do. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But those are just some examples of just assuming that if you throw money at it, it's going to work. Isn't the case. It still takes some finesse, and you still need to know what's going on with your competitors to be able to be competitive.
How much, as a quick follow-up question, how much of the success of pay-per-click Google advertising is the person on the other side and their smarts and their expertise in terms of, how they bid, how they choose the keywords, how they strategize, and how much is just really, it's just about the money. Like the more money you throw at it, the better Google recognizes you and, and gives you, slightly preferential treatment.
I think it's really, you have to be smart. Because if you don't, especially with like negative keywords and stuff, you're going to be paying for leads that you never wanted in the first place. Mm-hmm. So it's being smart and understanding what the what your goals are, and then going towards those goals and designing your campaigns around those goals. Because if you don't, then you're wasting money. And even if you have a big budget, you're going to get a bunch of leads that don't have any value.
Mm-hmm. And this isn't a set it and forget it kind of deal, is it?
No. No. Okay. No. You got A/B test on those and see which keywords are working and see which phrases work and what is kind of emotionally attaching to those people that are interested.
Remember when we were back in the day, and this has been a long time for all of us, but you're taking a standardized test, and whenever they ask you, whenever you see the word always, you just ignore it, right? That's always the wrong answer. Mm-hmm. So, and this applies. Mm-hmm. So this,
that's fair. That's fair.
It's the wrong answer in the way that it's always going to be all things. However, I'm going to caveat it and say it. All of the businesses that want you to do paid ads are in the business of making money. So I can almost guarantee you if they're paying money, they want you to be successful. Now, for sure, you're going to have more success depending on, if you have the right strategy attached to that. So I remember, and I'll tell you what I mean exactly by that. Mm-hmm. I remember working with a lawyer, and just as we've talked about, keywords for lawyers were really, really high, and lawyers, they must have a lot of time on their hands. Like lawyers will even click on their competitors' keywords because they see that it's a pay-per-click and drive up the price. But they're driving up for everybody, right?
Yeah, including themselves.
So I mean, I just think it's a mean and dumb tactic, but nevertheless, this is what they do. So it's working with a lawyer who was, I would almost say, deflated by knowing how much their keywords cost. Yep. And so we developed a strategy, which is this. What we noticed, we wanted, it was going to cost a certain amount just to be seen in the pay-per-click ads. Mm-hmm. So when they would then go to the landing page, I did a token, so to speak, right? Mm-hmm. And so then when that person left the website, then you have to put this in your privacy policies. All that's important. But when they went to Facebook, they would get an ad. we would do, that's called retargeting. And so why that's important is you see this all the time in e-commerce, for example, right? You went to Amazon, you were going to buy that big screen TV, or worse, you were going to get something for your wife, and if you didn't hide your internet, now she knows what she's getting for Christmas.
Exactly.
Go incognito, people. Go incognito. Anyway, so what then happens is, you get an email, hey, you left something in your bag. Or, you're back on again and, hey, did you forget something? You're on a completely different site. And so there are ways, and those ads actually cost less than that pay-per-click ad. So you pay for the pay-per-click once, right? That's the Google ad. It's the most expensive. Well, I don't know. LinkedIn might be a little bit more.
I think LinkedIn's a little more expensive.
I think so. That's mostly tends to be more B2B
LinkedIn
focused.
is more to B2B, and you got to have big budgets to play with LinkedIn ads.
Absolutely.
Right? So just in general, for the general population, let's just say, and clearly for my client, we were talking, if you're B2C, you're talking Google paid ads or some other things. So the other options that you have, my point is try to be strategic. Like what we did was there's a solution that we have that just kind of looked at the money based on your money, and they split it up. Like some part went to display, some part went to targeting, and some part went to traditional PPC. And the money still ended up being the same that this lawyer had to spend, but the cost per acquisition went down significantly. Okay. And so to answer your second question, John, working with people who understand that there's more ways to skin the cat. Yeah. And Peter, we're not skinning cats. We're not. No, don't come after us. But there's more than one way to get the job done, right?
Cats would be an interesting topic in Ohio these days. But.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, that's what I have for you.
Yeah, no, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but over the years, we've come to the understanding that having a pay-per-click strategy is important. I mean, I have a really good friend of mine who he's an immigration lawyer, and he swears by having not just pay-per-click. He spends quite a bit. He spends about $20,000 a month on pay-per-click ads, but he says there's no way he would do without his SEO strategy. It's both. He said, he goes, I have my pay-per-click, but I'd never get rid of my SEO. And he goes, my goal is just to keep all my people working. They love working. They love what they do. And I'm really disappointed when I see it slow. And he goes, I need both. I've found when I tried, even when my SEO, he said, became really good, and I was on page one for a lot of my keywords, almost all of them, he said. And he said, for sure, I was getting leads because of SEO, no question about it. But that extra little bit that I really needed to keep my team constantly busy came from pay-per-click. And so he said, I'm not giving up pay-per-click. I'll never give it up, because I'd love to, take that $20,000 budget and move it somewhere else. But I've seen when I do that, and he's tried it a few times, he brought it down to about 10. I think even 5 once. And he just said, no way. Everything falls apart. And I said, well, Google's on both ends of it. I said, they're on the SEO end and the PPC end. So they know what you're doing and they know what you're trying to do. So adjustments are made everywhere. So he's staying with it. So does it solve all your problems? No. But it does solve quite a bit especially if you're in an industry where it's highly competitive, and most industries are these days, especially lawyers. Yeah.
Hey, John, one thing I wanted to circle back to, because I started talking about you're getting retargeted and things like that. And so from a consumer standpoint, like how you stop that. So some of the things, I'm just going to throw another myth out there. People might believe that if I'm on a VPN, for example, then I'm not going to get targeted.
A virtual private network.
Private network. Yeah.
Okay.
You can still get targeted. Where it matters is, when you're on those sites, and I'll tell you how I address it. But if you're on a site and it says, we have cookies, and you can choose, like, remove me. I don't want you to do any cookies. I think it's a little unfair if you're on the site, because they're just trying to, in some instances, opt out of them doing anything except let them be able to get the marketing data from you. They just want to know how to market to other people. But you can say, I don't want to be retargeted.
True.
And so, so there's, generally for me, it depends on how urgent it is. If I want to get something, I'm like, accept all the cookies. Let me get this answer.
Just go. Yeah.
I want the answer. But that's where you would get the answer. If you're trying not to be retargeted to, it's in the cookies.
That wraps up another episode. My name is John.
This is Jim.
And I'm Kelly. Thanks for joining. Hey, don't forget to subscribe.
Thank you for tuning in to Why Your Business is Invisible Online. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do us a favor and subscribe and follow us on Spotify and Apple. Be sure to share it with other business owners who might find it helpful. If you want to dig deeper, contact us at ruinvisibleonline.com. That's capital letter R, capital letter U, followed by invisibleonline.com. Or message us on our LinkedIn business profile with the same title, Are You Invisible Online? The information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and may or may not reflect the official policy or position of WSI Corporate. Always consult a qualified digital marketing expert before making significant changes to your online strategy. Until next time, keep connecting with the people who matter most to your business and join us for our next episode.